Hey everyone, Clint here from Oak and Iron Outdoors. This is my friend Scully here, and today we're going to talk about how to draw more weight back on either your compound bow or traditional archery. So we're going to go over 4 different exercises, and then I have a progressional system, which is really the most important component in able to get stronger to pull more weight back on the bow, all right? So let's go over that right now. All right, so I know a lot of you folks don't want to talk about, the anatomy too much. They want to just get right into the exercises. But here's the deal. Most of my clients who understand the anatomy at least a little bit, all right, or on a small scale, they understand the draw cycle and they understand the muscles that they are working. And it just makes for a better workout. And they tend to become a little bit more efficient with the exercises and the progressional system in regards to drawing the bow back. So here is the muscles that are utilized in the archery draw cycle. We have the rhomboids, which is the rhomboid minor and rhomboid major. They're located here between the spine and the scapula. And essentially what they do, they're responsible for the initiation of the draw cycle and bringing scapula back. After that, we have the rotator cuff muscles. There are 4 of them. They lie on the scapula themselves, and they attach to the head, of the humerus here. And their primary purpose is more as stabilizers. Yes, they are utilized in the draw cycle to bring that arm back, but their primary purpose is to stabilize that shoulder component to keep that shoulder complex safe. Then after that, we have our latissimus dorsi. That starts here a little bit lower, and that will connect up here to the humerus, and that primary purpose is to draw that humerus back in a downward angle. You have the posterior deltoid that aids in the draw cycle, and then also have the upper trapezius that aids in the draw cycle. So those are the muscle groups right there. And now let's go over the first exercise. This first exercise is scapular retraction. Now when I teach the archery draw cycle, I always teach set the scapula first, okay? So when I come up to draw my bow, I set the scapula, meaning I'm using my rhomboids to draw that bow back, okay? First, all right? And then I create that draw cycle from there. And what I'm doing essentially is I'm setting that shoulder complex. I'm taking the head of the humerus and I'm setting it in that joint nice and tight. I'm also not allowing that spine to rotate as much. And if you think about it, it's like starting your car off in first gear when you initiate the rhomboids first. I think when a lot of people draw back a bow, they don't set those rhomboids. And essentially what they're doing is they're just drawing back or starting their car in second gear. Why not utilize those extra muscles? And not only that, it makes that shoulder complex so much safer, and it keeps that shoulder complex protected throughout the draw cycle, all right? Now, what we're gonna do is we're going to correspond that component into this particular exercise, all right? And this is scapular retraction. So let's go over that right now. All right, so I got my 2 weights here. I am bent over at about a 45-degree angle. I'm going to put the weights out in front. I'm going to put the hand slightly into external rotation, and I'm just going to bring those scapula back. Now, if you noticed, there is very little movement. Everything is coming from my shoulder blades. The other thing, I don't know if you can tell, is that I am not bending my elbows, okay? I want everything to come from the scapula, all right? So what I'm doing is I'm applying all of the work to those rhomboids. I'm not allowing the rotator cuff, I'm not allowing the lats, I'm not allowing the posterior deltoid, or any of those other accessory muscles to come in and take over, okay? I want all the work to be done on the rhomboids. And then what I'm doing through muscle memory is I'm teaching the rhomboids to initiate first, okay? And then what ends up happening is you're going to apply this component, okay, into any other roll component, all right? So if you're on the machine, all right, and you're on the cable and you're pulling straight back, what I want you to do then is you're gonna pull rhomboids back first, and then you're gonna pull back. Or if you're doing high rope, same thing, rhomboids first, and then you're going to pull down. And you can do that for the rest of your life, actually. It's a really good thing to do. I usually teach my clients to do it in 3 parts, meaning 1, 2, and then 3, okay? So whether you do it the way I just did it with the dumbbells, whether you do it on a machine, a cable row, a high row, whatever it may be, always start that row component utilizing the scapula first, okay? And then creating that rowing component, all right? So that is exercise number 1, scapula retraction. Next exercise is going to utilize one of these stability balls, all right? When I see people shoot archery, I see a lot of archery done very linear, meaning when they shoot, they go from here to here, okay? Here to here, they come up even, all right? Now, when I see archery or archery form done right, it's more rotational than linear. So when they come from here, okay, they come away and down. They come away and down, all right? That's the primary purpose of this ball, is to teach muscle memory and a little bit more proper form, and then to work those particular muscles, all right? So real quick, just laying on top of the ball, okay, you'll notice that my arms have to go more rotational to come up because the ball's in the way, so it automatically teaches you to be more rotational. So what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna grab these weights. We're gonna go a little bit lighter, folks, okay? So right now I'm just dealing with 8. Now, as I mentioned earlier, we're gonna do scapular retraction. That's why that scapular retraction exercise is so important. So I'm going to initiate that just like I would in the archery draw cycle. And then after that, I'm going to continue that all the way across, but I can't continue it in a linear motion because the ball's in the way, all right? So it's gonna look like this. I got the weights down here. I know you can't see my hands, all right? But I'm gonna initiate scapula first, and then I'm going to bring those weights around the ball. Initiate scapula first, and then bring weights around the ball, all right? And essentially, what you're doing is you're getting those proper muscles in regards to rotation stronger. Those are the ones we want to focus on. And with this particular exercise, not only does it help with strength, archery strength, it also helps with proper muscle memory, okay? All right, folks, so I'm sitting on a bench right now. I have a little bit smaller stability ball than prior, and that is for good reason. And if you look right now, okay, I'm gonna put my elbow directly on top of the ball. You're gonna see that my elbow, okay, is a little bit lower than my shoulder, all right? And if you've ever watched any of my past archery strength videos, you can see why I want the subacromial space to be open, and this is what it does. It causes it to open up. Where if I have a ball that's too high, okay, I'm gonna create impingement up in that shoulder. So we wanna make sure that that elbow is about 5 to 10 degrees lower than the shoulder, okay? I'm gonna take that weight, I'm gonna place it in my palm. I want to open my body up. I don't want to be turned and rotated towards it. I want to open my body up. I'm going to place the arm up over the ball, and then I'm going to rotate it back and then to neutral. Back, slow and controlled, and to neutral, all right? This isn't a race. This isn't a power move either, so you don't need a lot of weight. Matter of fact, if anything, err on the side of caution. And what we are working right now is the teres minor and the infraspinatus, all right? Those are 2 of those 4 muscles that make up the rotator cuff. And this is for that stabilization component, but these muscles right here also aid a little bit into the archery draw cycle. And this is a great exercise, once again, to help those rotator cuff muscles out, okay? On to the next exercise. All right, so I am on the narrow grip row cable machine. Now, I really like this particular machine because it incorporates all of the muscles of the archery draw cycle, okay? It's going to incorporate the rhomboids, it's going to incorporate the rotator cuff muscles, it's going to incorporate the upper trapezius, the latissimus dorsi, and the posterior deltoid, and indirectly, it hits the core region as well, because your core has to be strong to be able to not pull yourself forward. So just like in archery, you have to have a strong core as well. So what I'm going to do right now is I'm going to grab the narrow grip, okay? So you can see the narrow grip component that I'm holding on right now. Now, this is why it's so important, as I talked about earlier, to perform scapular retraction, okay? Because once again, I want to hit those rhomboids. Most people, when they perform a roll of any sort, they neglect those rhomboids, okay? And they're so important in the archery draw cycle. So once again, I'm going to go scapular retraction. If you notice, my biceps do not bend, okay? Now I'm going to bring it back, biceps bend, and then going forward, okay? Scapular retraction. Round boys are doing the work right now. Bringing the hands back, and then back to neutral, all right? So if we're creating that pure strength, we're pulling that bow back, narrow grip row, whether it's a cable machine, or let's say you're working out at home and you don't have a cable machine, even if you're doing bent over rows and just keeping that arm more to the medial side, bringing it up into the armpit, that'll work just as well. And it's a great way of doing it as well. Just remember, when you do that, scapula retraction first, and then create that rowing movement, and then back to neutral, all right? So, narrow grip row for building that pure power. All right, let's talk about the progression system right now. So, I'm going to try to make this as simple as possible, right? 2 times per week with 48 hours in between the archery training sessions, okay? For full recovery, you're gonna do 3 sets of each exercise at 14 reps per that week session, okay? At a particular weight. Now, the following week, how you're going to progress it is you're still gonna do 2 times per week, 3 sets, but you're gonna take those reps, you're gonna bring them from 14 reps down to 12 reps, but you're going to add the lightest increment of weight, okay? Then the week after that, you're going to go back to those 14 reps for those 3 sets, and you're going to then keep that weight where it's at, and 14 reps. And then the following week after that, you're gonna play that leapfrog game again, you're gonna bring it back down to 12 reps, and then you're gonna jump that weight one more time. So essentially each week, you're either gonna jump it in weight, or you're gonna jump it in reps, okay? So that little component right there within a 3-month time span should get you stronger in regards to draw strength. Now, the thing I want to talk about real quick though is for us folks that are shooting year round, one of the things I want to talk about is when should we shoot, when should we essentially lift for archery, okay? What I want to mention is that if you're going to shoot prior, okay? Shoot first and then do your strength training and not vice versa, because if you strength train first, your muscles are going to be weak and they're going to be a little tired from that archery session, and that's going to just lead to bad form, bad habits, and possibly injury, okay? So you always want to strength train, you always want to shoot first and then strength train, okay? Now, when it comes to off days, that shouldn't be an issue, all right? So let's just say you want to do strength train on a Monday and shoot on a Tuesday. That should be fine. I would like to separate those a little bit more if we could, but that should be all right. Now remember, when we're doing this, we're not trying to be bodybuilders. We're not into powerlifting. These muscles, as I pointed out earlier, are very small muscles, all right? If you think about it, it's the conglomeration of all of these smaller muscles that make up the strength component of the draw cycle. You know, it's not like if we're gonna kick a ball, it's the quadriceps, or if we're gonna do a push exercise, it's those big pectoralis major or minor muscles. We're dealing with many smaller muscles to help create that draw cycle, all right? But if you follow these particular exercises, they are designed to be safe, and they are designed to get you stronger and proper form, and then you add that progression system in it, you should see significant difference between the first day that you perform archery strength compared to that last day in that 2 to 3 month time span, all right? Now, when it comes to some of you younger folks out there, let's say you're a mom or dad and you have children, and we're gonna say between 8 and 16, okay? That's usually that time frame where a young person is trying to get a little bit stronger in archery. How would I switch that up? 2 ways. I would go from 3 sets down to 2 sets per exercise. And then what I would do is during that progression system, I wouldn't progress it every week of either reps or weight. I would progress it every 2 weeks of either reps or weight, okay? The muscles in most of those young folks are just not at that point where they can add that extra stress, okay? Now I know some of you archers are gonna bring up bands, and you know, some of you at home may utilize bands for your archery strength, and yes, they have their place, and yes, they're going to help a little bit. But the one drawback that I have, pun intended, with using bands is that the band itself, yes, it mimics maybe traditional archery a little bit more, but when I start here, okay, and I do that initiation with the rhomboids, scapular retraction, I bring them back, there's not hardly any pull at all. And then of course it's easy, mid-range, and then it gets a little bit harder at the end. Now, if you are shooting a compound bow, how does the compound bow draw? You're coming here and it's gonna start off a little harder in the beginning, and then you're gonna get to the peak of the draw cycle where it's gonna be its hardest, which is gonna be at that front third, okay, or front half of the draw cycle, depending upon your bow, and then it's gonna get easy back here, okay? So when I'm strength training to be able to draw more weight back, I wanna be strong through the entire draw cycle, not towards the end, all right? And the bands tend to make you more stronger at the very end. Like I said, they do help, but that's why I like the cable, and that's why I like the utilizing dumbbells or free weights, okay? Now, the other thing is too, when it comes to utilizing these bands, yellow is usually lightest, then it goes red, green, blue, gray, and black, okay? So you'd have to have all those different bands to essentially progress yourself all the way through to get yourself stronger, okay? Because if you think about it, if I just use a green band and only a green band, I'm gonna get to a certain level of strength, and then I'm just going to stay there, and I want to increase. I don't wanna maintain, okay? My goal is to get stronger, all right? So once again, that's why I prefer dumbbells, that's why I prefer the cable, and my way of thinking is that the band is great, but I like to utilize that more into essentially stabilization exercises for the rotator cuff. External rotation, internal rotation, shoulder extension, maybe a little shoulder abduction, stuff like that, and to recover from an injury. The bands have their place in that. But if you're looking for pure archery draw cycle strength, cable and free weights is where it's at with a proper progressional system. If you're looking to add that extra kinetic energy to your arrow, there's no better way to do it than hitting the weight room and getting stronger. And then also use exercises in this progressional system to keep that shoulder complex much safer so you can shoot for a very, very long time, all right? And maybe you're a young person, you know, and you're not quite at that legal weight to draw back for, let's say, going after deer, okay? This little program here that I shared with you today, that should help you, given 3 months of work, maybe squeak into that legal shooting weight. So hopefully that can help some of you young folks out there as well. You know, I enjoy making these videos. You know, I enjoy hunting, I enjoy fishing, and then with my background in rehab and in personal training, I just feel like I need to share some of this knowledge with you folks out there. And if you don't mind, please hit that subscribe button. I greatly appreciate that, and that tells me these are the type of videos that you guys would like to see in the future, all right? Now, I need to get going. Scully needs to get a bite to eat. He's looking a little starved, you know, and I gotta go shoot my bow later this afternoon. So, you know, good luck, shoot straight and stay safe out in the woods and on the water. And until next time, Clint, Open Air and Outdoors.